welcome to a live session. We're calling this Techniques of the Week. And I'm going to cover the top techniques of the week that I've used in my week of operating this week. So let's get into this. It's going to be some suture techniques and some techniques that just make you faster. And it's about precision and accuracy. The first technique is about two things. First, the perfect interrupted suture. Go in at 90 degrees, rotate your wrist. Nothing new here. We do this in all of our videos. Pull it through and just do it with one hand, no tug of war. This is the first bit. All my instruments are still in my hand. 1, 2, tie that perfect knot. This is the real key. My hands never cross. You see people doing all of this and all of this and all of this. These movements are way too big. This is what I want you to do, and this is, I think, why it looks far easier when I do it. Watch really closely. I go in, I go across, I pull it through. My instruments are palmed, my needle is here. I leave a short end that's not that short. I push forward, I wrap twice, I tie. If I want to tighten it, I just extend my finger and it does it for me. I know it's going to unravel, so I'm going to slide the knot. I don't need to wait for it to happen. I act before it happens. Again, if I want to tie my knot, I just use my finger to tighten the knots. What I'm not doing is this. Not moving all of my body to tie my knots. I'm simply just using my finger to push the knot down. This adds speed, saves time, and I cut. I flip my scissor down. My forceps are already ready in my hand. If I have an assistant and I'm holding all my instruments in one hand, my hand slides down the suture and I get ready to grab it. So technique number 1 was the perfect interrupted stitch. Your hands don't cross, you just use your finger. I'm just going to show you that one more time. You push through, you pull the suture through, you bring everything into your hand, you pull the suture through with one hand. This is not new, this is in all the videos that we've got on our page. The real trick is this. Wrap it around the tip, don't leave the short end too long, leave it short, grab just the tip. Pull the short end through the loop and just use your finger to tighten the knot. Not your whole body, just your finger. It's loosened, I'm not undoing it. I just pull my short suture through and pull just the short suture, use my finger to tighten it, and that's it. It's not lots of energy, not lots of movement. It looks far more elegant and it's proportional to what you're doing. This isn't a boxing match, it's just suturing skin. Well, tip number 2, how to maintain the tension on your knot. Let me show you. Go through, pull it through. So you've got a big hole, it's gonna gape. You wrap it twice, and you go like this. I know it's gonna loosen, so I take my index finger under the long loop, under the long suture, like this, and put the short suture on top, make a cross. Pinch it, hold the tension, and go through. The other reason I do this is because if I'm suturing at depth, I don't want to put that down. I just want my suture to be there, ready for me to grab. I don't want to be doing this, trying to grab it, keep missing it. It's just there. Put it there, I know where it is, I can grab it. I'll do that in slow motion again. The long suture, hold it between your thumb and middle, put your index finger under and go on top. Grab the knot in between, because that's where your knot's going to be. Go under the short suture, put it through and tighten it. Let me zoom in for you. So you're here, index finger under, short suture on top, you make a cross. Hold the cross and put it through. And do this all like this. Just make the loop, pinch it and grab it. I do this when I don't want to spend time looking for my suture end. This never changes. So tip number 1, the perfect interrupted stitch, slipping my knot, passing all my instruments into one hand. The second tip, having your sutures all available in your fingers so you can grab them. The third suture that I have really enjoyed doing this week is the continuous suture. It's fast, it's good for long linear wounds, and saves me having to keep cutting sutures. The reason I actually like it is not for any of those. The reason I like it is because often when I'm excising lesions, skin cancers, or doing kind of elective surgery, you've got some longer wounds, the wound edges can start to bleed. But you don't want to get the bipolar and cauterized, because often that bipolar cautery will burn too superficial. You don't want to burn the dermis. So I do a continuous suture. And that essentially is just an over and over. But you need to be able to do it fast. So push it through, grab it on the body, mount it straight away. And you keep going. Equidistance on both sides, go straight across. And it lays obliquely. You often have to go back further than you think. If you go too close, it will rip out. So the continuous suture, it's fast, it's good for long linear wounds, and I personally like it because it also is a bit hemostatic for bleeding dermal edges. Take slightly larger bites than you think, then you find it often lines up. You want to try and be equal distance on both sides and equal distance between your sutures. How do you tie this knot? You leave a loop, you wrap it round, and you go like this. My needle came off the suede, so don't lose it, park it somewhere, but you can still carry on. Because it's loose, I'm going to slip the knot. I'm going to pull the short suture through, I'm going to put it till the wound closes, and then I pull my long one. And it's as I want it. Put everything into your one hand. My scissors were ready. And cut. I just did a session on biopsy in the private members area. We talked about incision biopsy. We talked about this little device, which is punch biopsy. And I gave my top tips for how to do, when to do, and some nuances like in the face or the limbs. So those are my top 3 tips for this week for techniques that I've been using in surgery this week. If you've gotten value out of that, like, share, subscribe. To summarize, the interrupted suture, keeping your instruments in your hands and ready to go, cutting for yourself if you don't have Mayo Hagars or these things, passing everything into your one hand, cutting, holding your knot up in the air so your suture is available and ready for you to grab rather than looking for the short end, and then the continuous suture, which I find really, really useful because it's good for long linear wounds. I don't have to keep cutting knots, and it's hemostatic, so it stops bleeding edges really easily. If you've got value out of this, like, share, subscribe. Members area, got lots of members only videos, and we're hosting a live session off platform interactive video conference call next week, Saturday. Go to medsyncltd.com/event. I'll post it in the chat and the description. See you there next Saturday. Look out for the description.